should not be telling her what to do with her body.
2 years after Roe v. Wade was overturned, the fight over reproductive rights is front and center in Arizona, the important battleground state where the politics of abortion are playing a key role in the presidential race.
This amendment goes far beyond that. It allows abortion post-fetal viability, makes safety standards unenforceable, and, read the language for yourself, the word doctor or physician is nowhere to be found.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. Vice President Kamala Harris visited Arizona today, focusing on reproductive rights in a state that recently revived a near-total ban on abortion. And the issue could be put to voters this November with a proposed ballot measure to enshrine abortion access in Arizona's Constitution. On the 2-year anniversary of the fall of Roe, abortion rights activists and counter-protesters have been demonstrating across the country today, the biggest demonstration right outside of the U.S. Supreme Court. The vice president weighed in on both sides of the country. She arrived in Phoenix this afternoon after a rally on abortion that took place in Maryland. At both events, she called for the end of what she described as an assault on women's reproductive rights.
Most fundamental right, the right to make decisions about your own body, is now being made by the government. But think about that regardless of your gender. If they can go for that, the most fundamental of rights, what's next?
This isn't Vice President Harris's only stop in the West this week. On Friday, she'll attend a campaign fundraiser in Park City, Utah. That same day, she'll visit Las Vegas. Both of those visits are set for the day after the campaign season's first debate between President Biden and former President Trump. And former President Trump is reasserting his position that abortion laws should be left up to the states. Over the weekend, he said his picks for the U.S. Supreme Court made that possible.
We did something that was amazing. The big problem was it was caught up in the federal government, but the people will decide, and that's the way it should be. The people are now deciding, and some states are a little bit more conservative, and some states are much more liberal.
The former president made those comments on Saturday during the Faith and Freedom Conference in Washington, D.C. That conference is known as the country's largest public policy gathering of conservative Christian activists. A woman in Idaho says she needed to cross state lines in order to get an abortion. Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa spoke with her about how Idaho's near-total abortion ban helped convince her to move to Washington permanently.
We wanted to grow our family, which this is Nora. She just turned 7 months old.
Holding her 7-month-old daughter in her arms, Kayla Smith opens up about a time in her life that's never too far from her mind.
We found out we were pregnant on Mother's Day, actually, of 2022.
Around the same time the Dobbs decision was happening.
Everything seemed to be great with that pregnancy.
But that changed around 18 or 19 weeks of her pregnancy.
We found out that our son had several fatal fetal anomalies, specifically several different heart defects that would not allow him to survive.
At the time, Kayla was living in Nampa, Idaho, a suburb of Boise. That state has been the leader in states' efforts to criminalize abortion, and its near-total ban of abortion was the first case considered by the Supreme Court post-Dobbs.
We just felt really lost.
So she and her husband mapped out what it would take to get the procedure done in Washington. Kayla says she and her husband took out a personal loan for $16,000 to pay for their travel expenses and the procedure. And because they wanted to meet their son first, they also had to figure out what to do with his remains after. So it was just one thing after another for Kayla. That experience took a toll on her family.
I just was very numb. I would never wish this on anyone.
Kayla was one of hundreds of women who sought medical relief in Washington.
In fact, one Idaho physician told us about once a week, a woman facing complications is airlifted from Idaho across the border. A snapshot report by Planned Parenthood said that in Western Washington, we have seen patients from 22 different states in just the first half of this year in 2024.
Since Dobbs, data provided by Senator Maria Cantwell's office shows the Tri-Cities has become a leading destination for women looking for pregnancy options, with clinics there seeing a 1,000% increase in patients.
The snapshot is making something very clear. Just because the state of Washington protects an abortion right, it doesn't mean that we're immune from the impacts of the Dobbs decision.
For Kayla, Washington has become more than a safe haven. It's now home. They moved here about a year ago after they found out Kayla was pregnant again.
And I didn't feel safe continuing my pregnancy in Idaho. God forbid, something else happened.
It has become dangerous to be pregnant in Idaho as a result of these laws.
Gail Dady is the senior staff attorney at the Center for Reproductive Rights. The center is representing Kayla and 3 other plaintiffs, claiming Idaho's ban violates federal protections for emergency medical care when the mother's life is at stake.
The lawsuit is seeking to get clarity on Idaho's abortion laws, which are both very confusing and in conflict with each other, as well as to get a health exception for people who are experiencing both life and health-threatening pregnancy complications under the Idaho Constitution.
I never thought we would be in this position in 2024, having this conversation about whether or not I can as a woman, make choices about my body. Devastating. It's devastating.
And that was Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa reporting tonight. Idaho's current law bans abortion except when a mother's life is at risk. The U.S. Supreme Court still has yet to rule this session on an abortion case out of Idaho that's focused on whether doctors in states with restrictive abortion laws can be forced under federal law to perform the procedure in medical emergencies. The state argues its strict abortion ban does allow abortions to save a woman's life and does not need to expand exceptions for health risks. The High Court has until this Friday to issue a decision. Tonight, President Biden is condemning the actions of protesters outside of a Los Angeles synagogue over this past weekend. Police say what started as a pro-Palestinian demonstration quickly turned violent. People started posting videos to social media yesterday showing protesters and supporters of Israel clashing outside of a synagogue in a predominantly Jewish neighborhood. The violence eventually spilled into the street, shutting down traffic. Police say one person was arrested for possessing a, quote, spiked post. A rabbi at the synagogue says he feels police could have acted sooner.
That violence stopped right away, that the people who were shooting mace being arrested right away, I think we would have prevented the bigger violence.
This is a synagogue, and I'm here this morning to pray to my God, not to advocate for my personal political beliefs.
L.A. Mayor Karen Bass ordered extra security around the synagogue. The mayor, along with California Governor Gavin Newsom and President Biden, all issued statements calling the protesters' actions dangerous and anti-Semitic. We have an update tonight on the FBI raids shaking up politics in the San Francisco Bay Area. Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao spoke publicly for the first time today after agents searched her home along with several other locations last week. As KTVU's Tom Vakar reports, the mayor maintained her innocence in a passionate address.
Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao delivered a speech full of defiance, anger, emotion, and blame. She took no questions on her attorney's advice.
I have done nothing wrong. I am confident that I will not be charged with a crime because I am innocent. My role as your mayor continues.
The federal raid and the fear it caused her household is top of her mind. She directly accused the media of fanning the flames and bending the facts.
I want to know how the TV cameras knew to show up on my sleepy residential street so early in the morning to capture footage of the raid.
She's prepared for legal warfare.
I want to know what probable cause the FBI has. What evidence have they collected that justifies raiding the home of a sitting mayor?
Tao talked about her enemies.
I want to know more about the handful of billionaires from San Francisco and from Piedmont who are hell-bent on running me out of office. We now have an active recall campaign that is a waste of time and public resources.
It obviously wears on her.
I was born poor in America, and that teaches you a lot about the world from day one. Feeling the injustice in every bone in your body, knowing if you cry out and demand for answers, you will do nothing but cement the judgment they have rooted deep in their mind.
She said she commiserates with Oaklanders who've suffered similar indignities.
And no matter how hard you strive and push and fight and stay positive, and that you don't give up because you believe in yourself and you know what you have to offer this world, that you just cannot catch a break.
The battle is on.
I will not be bullied, and I will not be disparaged, and I will not be threatened out of this office. Nothing is going to distract me from building on the progress we have made in the last 18 months.
It is that progress or lack of it that is at the root of the recall. Tom Vakar, KTVU Fox 2 News.
And you can head to our website, westcoastwrap.com, to see today's comments from Oakland's mayor in their entirety. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, FBI agents believe New Mexico's deadly wildfires are human-caused. Tonight, the reward they're offering for information to track down those who may be responsible.
Scattered showers and lightning strikes all within the state of California. We will show you where and how long it's sticking around with your West Coast Wrap forecast up next.
Also coming up tonight, a popular surfer and actor killed by a shark in Hawaii. We'll show you how his community is remembering him. In Arizona, a former graduate student convicted of fatally shooting a professor was sentenced to life in prison today. Last month, a jury found 48-year-old Murad Dervish guilty of the 2022 killing of Thomas Meisner on the University of Arizona campus in Tucson. The professor was the head of the department where Dervish was getting his master's degree. Authorities said Dervish had been banned from the school earlier in the year and later expelled for ongoing issues with professors after he received a bad grade. Prosecutors say he managed to get on campus the day of the killing by wearing a mask and hat as a disguise. A well-known lifeguard, professional surfer, and occasional actor was killed in a shark attack in Hawaii. Authorities say Tamayo Perry was surfing off the north shore of Oahu. Lifeguards brought him back to shore where he was pronounced dead from his injuries. The 49-year-old was an actor who appeared in the fourth installment of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, as well as TV shows like Hawaii Five-0. Perry was well known to the community in Hawaii, which is now mourning his death.
It's just a tragic loss. And as Kirk just said, Tamayo is a legendary waterman and highly respected, grew up right over here, and just a great member of our ocean safety team.
Shark warnings were posted in that area following the attack. The FBI is offering a $10,000 reward tonight for information about who may have started 2 deadly wildfires in New Mexico. Authorities believe both the Salt and South Fork fires were human-caused. The fires are burning near each other, about 190 miles southeast of Albuquerque. 2 people have been killed and nearly 1,000 homes and other buildings have been destroyed. Tonight, the South Fork fire is 37% contained. The Salt fire is 7% contained. A nonprofit group is trying to help homeowners in the town of Paradise, California, to protect their homes against wildfires and to afford homeowners insurance. The Rebuild Paradise Foundation is giving $500 grants for people to create a 5-foot wide gravel buffer around their homes. They hope to help about 1,000 families who have rebuilt after the deadly and destructive Camp Fire in 2018, and also they want to help them qualify for private insurance. The nonprofit has already provided more than $2 million to assist households with construction costs. Well, some parts of California saw the return of unsettled weather today. There was rain coming down in Gilroy in Santa Clara County this afternoon. But these conditions actually increased the fire threat today. Some areas were seeing dry lightning, which is cloud to ground strikes with very little rain, and that has the potential to spark new wildfires. Let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez, who is tracking those concerning conditions, and she also has the forecast all across the West. Hey, Roberta.
Alex, it was really welcomed as far as the moisture is concerned. Not so welcome the dry lightning, as you alluded to. Let's take a look at the western states at this hour, and you see most of the precipitation right there around the San Francisco Bay Area. You have to keep in mind the center of the area low pressures to the south, and this is the wraparound moisture, and it just wrapped right there around the Santa Clara Valley, lifting into the eastern portion of that Bay Area into Alameda County. Meanwhile, around Arizona from Phoenix all the way into Tucson, actually see that new batch of energy there, and Tombstone, power was knocked out from thunderstorm activity there. But where we are concerned with on the west coast in the state of California is the dry lightning all associated with that rain. Now, dry lightning, again, is when the lightning is from the cloud to the ground and has very little precipitation associated with it because the air mass is so dry that the raindrops evaporate before hitting the landmass. Now, here you go for your Tuesday. Less risk of that dry lightning sparking any kind of fires. But this is what it looked like from the Santa Clara Valley. You were talking about the Gilroy area to the south of San Jose. You could see the bands of rain that were falling, but a lot of this did evaporate. Virga, but the lightning strikes were out there, so we had to monitor that very carefully there. Meanwhile, in Phoenix today, you could see the buildup of the cloud deck there, all associated with the subtropical moisture, 112, and very muggy. It was not a dry heat. And in Seattle, Washington, a good-looking, gorgeous day today, a high temperature of 70, which is where you should be for this time of the year. Right now, 64 San Francisco, 89 in Reno, 110 in Las Vegas after topping off at 113 today. 69 degrees in Los Angeles. So here's the deal. We have a trough to the north of us around the state of California. To the north, I'm alluding to the Pacific Northwest. Meanwhile, some precipitation that is still all associated with that subtropical moisture that lifted up from the south. For the Tuesday forecast, we'll see less of that activity and more sunshine. We're talking about 70s and 80s. How about 80 to 81 degrees in Los Angeles? It's about time summer arrived to Southern California. They've been experiencing so much May gloom and then also the June gloom. And here we are now with the abundance of sunshine leading all the way into the second weekend of summertime. Alex, make it a great night.
Yeah, absolutely. You as well, Roberta. Thank you. Boeing is under fire once again tonight. Federal prosecutors are calling for criminal charges against the plane maker. They claim Boeing violated a settlement from 2021 that protected the company from being criminally prosecuted over 2 fatal plane crashes that killed hundreds of people. Boeing allegedly broke that agreement by failing to create and enforce a program that would detect fraud violations and didn't continue compliance practices. The Justice Department has until July 7th to bring charges. 2 astronauts at the International Space Station will be staying longer than planned as engineers work out some issues with a Boeing space capsule. NASA astronauts Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida back on June 5th. The flight was meant to test Boeing's Starliner so it could be used regularly to send crews to space. Before the Starliner launched, it was delayed twice for technical issues, including a small helium leak.
Launch tends to be very violent, lots of G's of acceleration, lots of vibration going on, and that usually causes something to not work perfectly. And in this case, the helium leaks, the failed valve, and the 5 reaction thrusters were the big things that didn't work right.
With all that being said, NASA says the astronauts have plenty of supplies and they are in good spirits. Coming up tonight on West Coast Wrap, teenagers set to take a case to Utah Supreme Court, how they got wrapped up in a legal fight over climate change. Plus,
I want everybody to be able to have that faithful friend that maybe they've always dreamed of having.
some lucky students in Arizona were able to find out what it's like to be a veterinarian, how their passion for pets led to this unique opportunity. Major record labels are suing 2 AI music generators for copy infringement. The Recording Industry Association of America announced the lawsuits today, which accuses the companies Suno and Udio of exploiting the recorded works of big-name artists. Sony, UMG Recordings, and Warner Records are among the labels that are suing. Suno AI CEO dismissed the allegations, saying his company's technology does not regurgitate pre-existing content. Some teenagers worried about their future will get to have their say before Utah Supreme Court. They're suing over the state's fossil fuel policies. As Fox 13's Ben Winslow reports, they believe those policies will harm their health and make climate change worse.
In a surprise move, the state's top court will hear a lawsuit by a group of children challenging Utah's fossil fuel policies. I'm Ben Winslow inside the Supreme Court chambers on Utah's Capitol Hill. The justices have agreed to consider whether or not to revive a lawsuit brought by a group of children challenging Utah's fossil fuel policies and their impact on climate change.
At minimum, that's a recognition, I think, of the important constitutional issues that are involved in this case and what's at stake for these young children.
A group of young people sued Utah's Division of Oil, Gas, and Mining, arguing that the state's policies propping up fossil fuels has not only exacerbated climate change, but is harming their health with pollutants in the environment around them, giving them medical problems like asthma. A lower court dismissed the lawsuit. The judge ruled their arguments were best made to the Utah State Legislature, so they appealed. Now the justices of the Utah Supreme Court have agreed to hear the case. The children's lawyers says it's an important case that should go to trial.
One thing that the state has argued is that some of these recent changes to Utah's energy policy, and in particular one of the statutes that we're challenging, makes it inappropriate to hear this case, but that's incorrect, because actually what the legislature has done is double down on their commitment to maximizing fossil fuels, and in changing these policies recently, they've said, let's continue business as usual. Let's make sure that we're getting as many and as much fossil fuels out of the ground as possible. And what we're asking the court to do in this case is to decide whether those policies are unconstitutional and causing continuing harm to these young people.
So what the court is being asked to do is decide whether or not to revive the lawsuit. If they do rule in the children's favor, the case would then go to trial. Arguments before the high court are set for September. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
All right, finally tonight, a handful of lucky contest winners in Arizona got to dig their paws into a day in the life of a veterinarian. 16 students in Peoria, just outside of Phoenix, were chosen to spend a day at an animal hospital after they answered an essay prompt. And that prompt was, why I want to be a veterinarian. The kids changed into their surgery scrubs. They put on caps and shoe covers just like actual surgeons. And then they got a tour, spending time in mock surgery and exam rooms.
Bandage room where it teaches you how to bandage a dog's foot or a cat, and then they had to wear a cone around them so they don't scratch it or bite it.
And those students had a whole question and answer session with the doctors, and I'm sure they had lots of fascinating questions for them. That was followed by an award ceremony after that. And we should tell you that those students, they were selected from a pool of applicants. The hospital says the 16 students were selected from a pool of 35 applicants. And what an incredible experience for all of those kids. All right, that does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching as always. And a reminder here before we go, you can stay up to date on all the stories we're covering at our website. That is westcoastwrap.com. You can also stream our shows right there on your smart TV. All you have to do is download the free Fox Local app. Hope you have a great rest of your night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.